Good morning, everyone. This is how I'm feeling today with too many things and too many things to manage today morning. Uh, have you seen pictures like this as you travel around? Especially in restaurants, if you go, parents are finding it difficult to feed their children, and what do? Or at homes, they give a mobile and they make the children watch the screen and then they're trying to finish up their work. And is this a common sight that you get to see? Okay. Especially around the coffee shops, outside the college that we go. I stay very close to a college, so this is a common sight for me. And how about this one? Is this common as well? Is it moving? Yeah, this one. Is this common, this site? Yeah. Okay. Sometimes we are not even in the same room. Okay, this picture is slightly better, that's what my wife says. Okay. Now, this is not a phenomena which is common to the urban area. If you go to the rural places, okay, people from diverse background are caught up with usage of mobile. And the thing is, you wonder, how did it all reach here? This is a timeline which I got from the internet. It gives a full timeline of as to how the applications were created and what was their period. So the first social media was created. It's called 6 Degrees. It was created in 1997. Okay, 6 Degrees lasted only for 4 years. 2001 was the end of it. But the year 2004 till 2020 was the period in which many applications sprung up. Okay, starting with Facebook, then Twitter, then finally in 2017 we have TikTok. And the 2022 statistic, it says currently there are 4.7 billion users. Okay, but I'll give you the new statistic that is there. Okay, this is the overview of social media use. Okay, as on July 2025. Okay, the current user base is 5.41 billion. Anybody wants to take a guess? What's the population of our globe right now? Sorry? 7 billion. Any other number? 8? Very close. So our current population is 8.3. That means, I don't know, this number is visible here? 65%? That means 65% of the current Earth's population is using the social media. And this is the percentages that are given, what is the month-on-month growth, year-on-year growth. And the first question that you wrote, how many hours do we spend? Okay, weekly time spent using social media platform, including videos, is 18 hours, 46 minutes. Now you know you are above the global average, you're above that, you're matching that, or you're below that. Mine is above the global average. Then, this is interesting here. Currently, 89% of the users are above 18, but 11% of this number, 5.4 billion, are people who are below 18 using the platform. And then they have given a split of male and female, so it's almost equal. 45% females using the social media and 55% men. Then which are the platforms where most of our times are being spent? Starts with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp, and the others. The top four are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Okay, now this is an interesting statistic I came across. Uh, so what they have done, they have broken it down age-wise, 16 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, and up to 65 plus. And why do people get onto the social media? They've tried to get a reason. Okay. For the first row, for all the age groups, what is common is connecting between family and friends. Okay. Now, what is interesting for the age group between 16 and 24? To fill up the spare time. Okay. And that is true for people between 25 to 34, 35 to 44. So this age group, these three columns, okay, many of us get onto social media just to fill up our spare time. Okay. Our age group, they fall here to read news, stories. Okay, the fourth column. And you see how it has been divided based on the usage and the reasons why people get onto social media. Now, not everything that we do on social media is bad, right? It has positives. So let us look at some of the positives that are there. Okay. One of the best places to connect with people, okay, within a short span of time, okay, is one of the best tools that is available. The second, amplify voices. Social media in the past and now is also being used for good reasons. Okay, issues which would have been unknown, which would have been unaddressed. Okay, people have used social media platforms to bring up valid, legit reasons, and it has been taken note, okay, by the authorities, by the government, and some good things have also been done through this platform. Okay. Okay. Spreading of knowledge. Okay. Earlier, to get information about anything was very difficult. Okay. The primary source of getting information was through books. Okay. And books, not everybody could afford earlier. Okay. Now, at a click of a button, you can get information almost about everything that is there. And one of the biggest change that has happened is created a lot of opportunities. Okay. How many of us agree with this? Okay. Because of social media, people are able to, they don't need an establishment anymore. Okay. Right from where they are, they're able to operate, and it has opened up doors for many, many opportunities. Okay. But apart from that, okay, what is the ill effects or the downside of this technology? Okay. It has fractured the identity of people. Okay. Now, self-worth of people is been measured by followers and the number of likes they get on Facebook. And many a times we derive our happiness based on how many views we have got. Okay. Oh, I have preached on this Sunday. How many people have gone and seen this? Or this ministry, how many subscribers do they have? Okay. Similarly, for whatever work we do, okay, if you're in the field of music, or if you're in the field of teaching, okay, so based on the number of subscribers, based on the number of views, we kind of validate ourselves. We find our worth in those things. Okay. But because of this, there's other things that have started happening is the mental health crisis. Heavy social media is linked with anxiety, depression, loneliness, body dysmorphia, especially among young women. Okay. And in the month of August, Um, in our city, there was a seminar that was held, and I got the link from Eric. This had come in Hindu newspaper about how Nimhans is trying to create a help desk for people actually struggling with uh, mental illnesses. And mental illnesses basically coming out from the usage of technology. Okay. Erosion of community. This online platforms, they promise connection, but it often fosters performance-based friendship. Okay, you do this for me, okay, and I will do. I mean, even in real life, it is there, but which was meant to connect people. We were meant to collaborate, but it has end up being a performative friendship. Then the last one, okay, the distorted reality. Okay, algorithms trap users in echo chambers, reinforcing their biases. Okay. Now, if each of us can look at the YouTube shorts that you're watching, or the things that you are checking out in Facebook and Instagram, you will find there is a pattern to it. Okay. The technology, it, it studies the amount of time that you're spending on a particular service or a product, and it is trying to curate stuff for you and present it to you. And very often, what happens is that you're bombarded with those kind of things, and it creates an urge within you. And you end up participating, subscribing, or buying the product or service. There's this interesting movie that has come now. It was released last year, but they've just started showing. It's called Humans in the Loop. Uh, Unfortunately, it is not being aired here in our city. Right now, it's on in Mumbai and Delhi. I was reading about this movie. It's got an interesting storyline. Okay. It's a story about a woman who's been, her job responsibility is called as data labeler. Okay. So this person has to sit on the system, look at the images that are there in front of her, and label them. Okay. So now, when a person searches for a particular thing, whatever data has been fed by these data labelers, okay, gets activated, and that data comes in form of information to the user. And her challenge with the use of this technology. So the story is like AI is like a baby, and you need to teach her to identify the right things and the wrong things. So many a times, what happens is that the information that we simply consume, we think it's neutral information that is coming to us. It's an unbiased information that is coming to us. Rarely do we pause to stop and think that the information has the bias of the person who has actually fed in the information. How many of us have read this report? There's a real incident that has happened. This guy, Adam, 16-year-old, he committed suicide, and the parents have sued OpenAI for his murder. As I was reading about this report, Adam was struggling with depression. Okay, what began as a casual conversation with the AI chatbot, okay, trying to seek help for his anxiety and depression, slowly turned into something very dangerous. Parents say that this AI actually became a suicide coach for his child. They tried looking at all his social media, they couldn't get anything. Finally, when they opened up his the history in ChatGPT, then they found, and more than 40 ways were prescribed of committing suicide. And this young one lost his life. Very often we think when we are using these gadgets that we are there, that we have, uh, we think we are the master. We live under that delusion that we control these things. But it is the reverse. And as I was thinking about this, one sobering thought came to my mind. Do you remember this story? What is the story about? Prodigal son. What is his background in the parable? He's a rich man's son, okay, who rebelled against his father, who said, Father, I've had enough of living in this house. Give me my share of the property and let me go and enjoy my life, because I have now grown up. I know how to take care of myself. And this guy goes out, spends everything that he has received as inheritance from his father, loses all his friends. Finally, he's been employed as a servant to take care of what? Of pigs. No, a statement has been mentioned in the Bible. This guy was so hungry that he longed to eat what the pigs were eating. We stay with something for so long, we don't realize that our taste, our desire, our greed will come for things which you would have otherwise not consumed or taken if you were in a protected environment. This guy longed for the food that pigs ate. Do you think it would have ever crossed his mind living in his father's house, eating the food that was meant for pigs? And so often we think it is okay to give these gadgets to our children, and we ourselves are guilty of it without any restraints on ourselves. We keep surfing, we keep doing things, not knowing that we are getting slowly mastered by these applications that has been so called created to help, connect, collaborate. And we forget the detrimental effects that it has on our well-being. So what does Bible say about all these things? Okay, these are the issues that are there with the technology. What does Bible say about our identity? Okay, our identity is in Christ and not in metrics. Ephesians 2:10, it says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So let us be careful and not get carried away, not only by the digital appreciation that we get in the virtual world, but also the appreciation of man. Let us not get carried away by that, and let us not have identity drawn from the things that we hear. Okay. Let our identity be secured in the fact that we are child of God. We have been created in his likeness and in his image. And he cares for us so much that he gave the best that he had, so that you and I can be redeemed from the empty way of life. Addiction is also a form of idolatry. Anything that draws you away from God is a form of idolatry. I came across a very disturbing video and I didn't want to put it here. A young boy has been chained and he's been tied to a tree. And in his hand is a mobile, and the whole villagers are trying to help him. He is busy on PUBG. And he doesn't know what is happening. If you see him, okay, you'll feel that he is possessed. So let us be careful where our heart is getting drawn into. We are called to steward our time and our attention. Ephesians 5 verse 15 and 16 says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." Because the days are evil. One of the OG content creator, was from Bible. Know his name? If he would have been alive now, he would have got, I think, many subscribers. His name is King Solomon. He wrote more than 3,000 proverbs, 1,000 songs, okay, close to 1,000 relationships. And if you read the book that he has written, Ecclesiastes, the second verse it says that meaningless, 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 everything is meaningless. And one by one, he's trying to do things in his life which will give him pleasure and satisfaction. Okay. So he says, I chased wisdom. Okay. Nothing happened. Then pleasure. Nothing happened. Then toil, took up great projects. Nothing happened. And finally he says, everything is like chasing of the wind. That is his conclusion. How often we have felt like this after spending hours mindlessly scrolling or seeing reels or YouTube shorts, and suddenly you realize that you've lost 1 or 2, 3 hours, I don't know how many hours, and you feel, what have you done with your time? And you will not even remember what the 45th short or the reel was. Okay. It's like chasing the wind. We are designed for real community, not for digital performance. When we started off with this series 2-3 years back, gospel-centered life, the very first chapter, okay, it talks about God has created us for community. That's how the series began. Okay. We, as God's children, were never meant to live in isolation. Okay. We were meant for community. Hebrews 10:24 it says, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another." You know, the highest form of punishment apart from capital punishment, what do the the people do? The judiciary do, or the legal people, what do they do? Life sentence. What happens in life sentence? Yeah, four walls for the rest of your life. So we take the person away from the community and we put them into solitary confinement, and we treat that as a punishment, right? You're not allowed to interact with the world outside. And that, we say, is a punishment for that person. Half of us, actually, without the four walls, are living like that. We take the gadget, and I was jokingly telling my friend, I think we can put half our country in the jails and just give them mobile. I think they will stay happily inside. Because as long as you have something to entertain your mind, you don't care what is happening around us. So, if this is the reality, then how do we, as God's children, overcome? Okay. Whenever we get into a gadget, or you want to use the social media or any, examine your intention. Ask, what is the purpose? And why are you using it? And who's the beneficiary? Many a times we just log in without thinking. I think it is good to put filters for our life and ask question like, why is it I'm getting onto social media? What is the purpose? Why am I using a particular app? Can I live without that? Or is it so essential for my survival that I can't do without it? And who's the ultimate beneficiary? And the third point, where am I looking for counsel and direction? Okay, as we saw that example of Adam who ended his life. Many a times, our children, we go and ask all sorts of questions to AI or all the tools that are available instead of going to God and asking Him for help. Okay, I'm not even telling go to people. Okay, yes, there's a godly family, there is family that God has given us. We need to go to them. Okay, but our primary source for taking counsel has to be the Word of God. Many a times, people who are around us end up giving wrong suggestion, and that messes up with our life. Remember Jonadab, very good friend of Amnon, David's son. He gave a wonderful idea, and that idea destroyed Amnon's life, Absalom's life. David was running as a recluse. Okay. So be careful from where you take information. Point 2. Okay. Build your boundaries. Proverbs 25 verse 28 says, people who cannot control themselves are like cities without walls to protect them. What happens to cities without walls? It gets easily breached. Okay, if you don't build barriers for your life, it is very dangerous. You can get swayed by anything. and especially our young children. Okay. As parents, if we don't teach them to build the right barriers, right boundaries, this is the place that you can go and not beyond that. Daniel resolved in his heart not to defile himself. Okay. This is in context of the food that was placed before him. If you read Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, it says, Daniel resolved in his heart not to eat the food. Okay. Did Daniel make that decision when the food was served to him by the royal officials? What do you think? He had already made up his mind not to eat the food and the wine that was served from the king's kitchen. He had decided not to defile himself with that food. So when the food came to him, he was able to take the right decision for his life. If we do not teach ourselves and our children what are the right boundaries within which they can operate their life, or I can operate my own life, when temptation comes, I will not know what to do. And very often, I will end up making the wrong choice. Let us read this verse again. Proverbs 25:28. People who cannot control themselves are like cities without walls to protect them. And the breach does not happen physically. It happens in your mind first. First, the barrier is broken here, then the body is touched. Okay. If you guard here, then the body is safe. There's a very powerful saying by this philosopher called Will Durant, American philosopher. He says, a great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself from within. Okay. Apocalypto, this movie, Mel Gibson. How many of you have seen? Okay. That movie begins with this statement. Okay. A civilization is not conquered by the external enemy until the time it has not destroyed itself from within. If it is true for a civilization, it is true for us as community, us as family, and me as individual. If I am not taking care to protect my inner being, my mind, my soul, the thoughts that I entertain when I am alone, when the attack comes, I will not be able to stand. Having the right perspective. Okay. It's always a choice when you're on social media or using any other app on the smartphone. Okay. It's now versus eternal. The whole system is geared for instant gratification. Okay. Do it now, don't miss it. This is your golden opportunity. Just click the link. And if you see people in the Bible, okay, who have lived a life of significance, okay, have always delayed their own desires. Okay. King David, when was he chosen to be the king of Israel? He was very young. There were opportunities for him to go and take the throne rightfully. And there were enough and more reasons why he should have taken the throne earlier. Because Saul was not being the right leader for the nation. You know what David said? How can I lay my hands on the God's anointed one? He didn't touch him. He didn't touch him. Joseph, when he encountered Potiphar's wife, he ran away. He didn't sit there. We see Daniel. We see Moses. Okay, when you read the book of Hebrews, he was being trained under the top university that was available that time to hold one of the topmost position. But as compared to his life in eternity, he saw that as a waste. Okay, and he left. So the choice for each one of us, it's always now versus how I view my life from eternal perspective. Will I be happy with the choice that I have made today, 10 years hence? Or should I succumb to my thoughts, my desires right now? And also, it's about like being physical versus virtual. Many a times, we do not want to associate with people physically. Okay, it's okay to be in the virtual world. Okay. Many of us, including me, when there is a Zoom meeting, if there is a choice, we don't put on our camera. Is it true? Unless someone in the group says, please turn on your camera. Left to us, we'll shut it down. Because we don't want to. But we have been created for community. We have been created in the image and likeness of God. We need to be together. Okay? We are safe in the community. Okay? This community ensures our safety. If there is no community, there's no safety. It is dangerous to live. If you think you can survive without the community, you need to be accountable to people who are around you. Okay? How many of us remember Lot's story? We remember Lot's story? Okay. The instruction was to leave the city and flee. Okay. But what did Lot's wife do? She turned back and became the pillar of salt. But what was the responsibility of the three who were left? Lot's daughters and Lot. They were supposed to get back into the community, but they didn't go. What they end up doing? They stay in a deserted place, secluded place. Then they are worried, what will happen to our lineage? So they get their father drunk and they have the children through their father. That is the danger of living away from the community. Yes, I can completely understand there are times where we need to be alone. There are times where we need to self-reflect, examine our life in the light of God's word. But after you do that, we are supposed to come and rejoin the community. Another example I'll give you. Okay, it's about this letter that Paul wrote to the church at Corinth. There was a man found who was sexually immoral. Paul took the authority as a father of the church, okay, of being a guardian of the church. Even though I am not physically present with you, I am with you in spirit. So expel that brother. he wrote to them in a letter. And same Paul writes to them again in 2 Corinthians and tells, bring him back. Okay. If we keep him away, the evil one may snatch him away from us. So I understand there are times where we need to be secluded, but God has created us for community, and this community is a physical community. It's not a virtual community that God has called us to live in. What happened to us 5 years ago was an anomaly because of COVID. That is not the way of life. That is not how we were supposed to live. There were restrictions put for our good. Those restrictions are no longer applicable. You and I are meant to live in a community.